Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and today I want to talk for a moment about the Denver Nuggets. I was reading a comment on a video the other day where someone said they went back and took a look at all the videos I've made this year and tried to find what teams I haven't made a specific video about. Those teams included the Portland Trail Blazers, the Charlotte Hornets, and actually the reigning champion Denver Nuggets. Now, I've talked about them in a lot of other videos, Jokic in particular. When I talk about the MVP race, he's almost always at the forefront of that. I made a video talking about how much big man talent there is in the league. He was, of course, discussed in that too. And the Nuggets themselves get talked about in my Every Team video series, where I, of course, talk about every team, as well as some other just Western Conference in general videos. But they certainly haven't gotten their own solo video this year. And I've known this isn't new information to me. But the reason for it is just that they've been ridiculously dominant. Again, like the stuff that they're doing right now is stuff that I've talked about at length for the past year or so. A lot of videos about them last season going into the playoffs, of course, talked about them a lot en route to the finals, and they're kind of just doing the same stuff again. They're ridiculously good. They're at the top of the Western Conference, and I feel like a lot of people's pick to go ahead and win the championship with the best player in the world in Jokic. It's stuff that a lot of people already know. It's not like they're the Boston Celtics who are kind of new on the block in terms of this domination. They've now got Porzingis, Jrue Holiday. They're setting historical records. The Nuggets are just doing the same stuff and feels like they'll probably end up in the NBA Finals again. I do want to give them their flowers though, so I am making this video, and it does feel like they're hitting a pinnacle of their powers at the moment. They've been absolutely unstoppable over the past month or so, so it's finally time to go ahead and talk about the Denver Nuggets and go over why they may just be unbeatable at this point. The Nuggets are currently sitting at the top of the Western Conference like they were last season right now with a record of 51-21 with 10 games left to go. They're poised to surpass their win total from last season, which was 53 wins in just a few games here. They're probably going to snag their second one seed in a row, and actually, it'll only be the second in franchise history. And if they finish the year 7-3 or better, which is very doable for this Nugget squad, they'll finish with the most wins in franchise history. And as of late, they've been ramping up into playoff mode and have been the definition of unbeatable. Over the last 17 games, they're 15-2, with their only losses coming in overtime versus the Suns, and by 2 against the Mavericks, in a game where Kyrie hit one of the most insane game winners I've ever seen, that little left-handed floater, which is unbelievable. But outside of those 2 games, they haven't lost in forever. They really just don't lose in general, and I can tell you that firsthand as a Thunder fan. Like, the Thunder have been playing great, they've been keeping up their wins, but they can't get any ground on the Nuggets in the 1-seed race because Denver just refuses to lose regardless of who they face, and at this point, they have to be the favorites to go ahead and grab the 1 seed when the season is all wrapped up. I doubt many of you will argue with me when I say this has been the best team in the Western Conference this season, and they've taken last year's championship squad, which was unbelievable in their run, and somehow leveled it up. Last year, they were this offensive juggernaut going into the playoffs with a somewhat shaky defense that brought up some questions about their playoff viability. People saying they're going to get exposed by this team and that team. A lot of people calling them a fake 1 seed. And then they went on one of the most dominant title runs in recent memory. This year, again, they're an offensive juggernaut, the 6th best offense in the league, but now they're a lot better defensively, going from a middle-of-the-pack team to a squad that's been top 10 for a majority of this season. If I told you this was the best Nuggets team of all time, I doubt many of you would disagree with me. They've been unbelievable, and of course, it all starts with the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic, currently on track to probably win his 3rd MVP, and really strengthening his grip on that best-in-the-world title. He's putting up a very casual 26.1 points per game, 12.3 rebounds, and 9 dimes, while shooting 65 true shooting percentage, which is second in the NBA only behind Giannis for everybody averaging 25 or more points per game. He's a shining example of elite efficiency both now and all time, a fantastic playmaker, the best in the world right now, and one of the best to ever do it regardless of position. He is easily the best center to ever play make, but he's in those best all-time conversations at this point. Just makes some of the most absurd passes you've ever seen. A dominant scorer when he chooses to be, because there are some nights he'll go out there and just score 11 on perfect shooting and let everybody else destroy you or just break you apart with playmaking. He's elite at dissecting a defense. He holds his own defensively. There's really not anything Jokic can't do. He is one of the most frustrating players to play against because you can play perfect defense, do everything right, and he's still going to make you pay time and time again. And yet it still feels like he's coasting by. It doesn't feel like he's been playing at the peak of his powers, and the Nuggets are still this good. I guarantee when we get to the playoffs, he's going to take it up to another level, and he already is, in my opinion, the clear best player in the world at the moment. So that's terrifying for the rest of the NBA. Jamal Murray, meanwhile, is having his best season yet, I would say. He's giving Denver 21 points per game, 4 boards, and 6.7 dimes. That's a career high in that regard. On 42% from deep, an elite shot maker and shot creator, a great playmaker, and he can really step up in any regard if they need him to. Like, if they need somebody to score, say Jokic is having one of his rare off games, he can go out there and drop you 30, 35, 40 points. If they're really forcing Jokic to be a scorer, which happened in a game recently, I can't remember who it was against, but they said, okay, we're just going to have Jokic be the scorer. Jamal Murray, we're going to make him beat us in terms of playmaking. And he did exactly that, had double-digit dimes, and the Nuggets went out there and got a win. So he's really versatile, works fantastic alongside Jokic, and they form one of the most formidable duos in the entire NBA. If you said the best duo, I probably wouldn't argue with you. Michael Porter Jr. has been great as usual, 17 points per game and 7 boards on about 50, 40, 82 splits. He's the perfect complementary piece for this team and is giving them a really efficient 20 points per game over this 17-game hot streak that they're on at the moment. It feels like he's almost taken like a bit of a mid-season leap. He's been better defensively than it feels like he's been at maybe any other year in his career. Aaron Gordon, also in this starting lineup, one of the NBA's best defenders, a fantastic cutter. It feels like he and Jokic just have this telepathic connection at times on a lot of those cuts. A good rebounder, a great energy guy, just the definition of a glue guy for this team. And you have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope rounding out the starting five, playing all defensive level defense, as well as giving them 10 points per game on nearly 40% from three. Again, a perfect complementary piece. They just did such a good job of finding all the perfect guys to put around Jokic and Jamal Murray in this starting lineup. It is an elite, seamless fit for them. It has a great argument for being the best starting lineup in the NBA. There may be more talented ones, like for example, say the Boston Celtics one, but when you consider chemistry, nobody does it like the Denver Nuggets. I swear the whole team is just this one hive mind, that they all share this one brain, because there's no other way a team can operate so cohesively on a basketball court. It's ridiculous. The timing of their cuts, the actions that they run, it feels like they just know each other's tendencies really well, exactly where to be and when to be. And I think a lot of that is Jokic orchestrating the team and getting them set up, Michael Malone getting them to buy into the system and really instilling it in them. But I've never seen a team just adjust on the fly and make things work the way the Nuggets do. You can throw them a coverage and they'll figure it out within like 5 possessions, and then suddenly you have to go to plan B and plan C and plan D, and eventually you run out of plans and the Nuggets beat you, because they're not going to stop figuring things out. They're going to continuously solve the puzzles you throw at them, and that's one of their superpowers. They may be out-talented at times, although that's very rare, but you're not going to find any team that plays as together as the Nuggets do. The chemistry is just otherworldly. There have been very few teams in NBA history that I've watched that have had this level of seamless cohesion on both ends of the ball. Like, even their depth, which was one of the bigger question marks surrounding this team coming into the season with the loss of Bruce Brown and them probably asking a lot of young guys to step up, has held up entirely well. Like, they've been perfectly fine. Reggie Jackson has been pretty good as a backup one, way better than honestly I was expecting him to be. Christian Brown has built off his finals run and the extended leash that they gave him last season, just showcasing why he continues to deserve more and more minutes and is a long-term piece of this team's future as one of their depth guys. Justin Holiday has given them some really good minutes as well. Hasn't played a ton, but when he has, he's certainly held up. Peyton Watson has been probably the best bench player for them a lot of games this year, especially when it comes to the defense. He has been elite on that end. Cannot give him enough credit for what he's done. One of the big reasons why their defense has been so good this season. Just an elite athlete. He's quick. He's got a lot of length to him. They've asked him to guard a lot of really tough players, especially when Aaron Gordon is out of the game, and he's held up against pretty much everybody. Like, this team has found ways to be successful regardless of who's on the court. DeAndre Jordan has even had some decent run this season, and that's a sentence I never thought I would say in 2024. So to recap, they have arguably the best starting five in the NBA that are all great supporting pieces around the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. They're top 10 on both sides of the ball this season. They've got a solid bench still. They've got now championship experience, and with that run, we also now know they're playoff risers. Like, some people thought they might be frauds or that they were going to fall apart in the playoffs. Instead, they leveled up by pretty much every metric. Nikola Jokic had one of the single most impressive individual finals runs ever. He became the first player to ever lead an entire postseason in points, rebounds, and assists. That's completely absurd and did it hyper efficiently. Jamal Murray has always been insane in the playoffs, but last year in particular was just otherworldly. A lot of people came into this season calling him a top 15 or 20 player because of what he has done in the playoffs over the course of his career, specifically last year. You've also got what Aaron Gordon did, KCP, Michael Porter Jr., all those guys had moments. Michael Malone was great in coaching them. We know this team can be successful in the playoffs. They're even better than they were last season in this regular season. So why wouldn't I expect them to once again go into the playoffs as a completely dominant force that I'm not sure many teams can actually beat? Taking a look at how they fared against the best teams in the NBA this season, they've been amazing. The only top 4 seeded teams that they currently have a losing record against in either conference are the Oklahoma City Thunder, who they went 1-3 against, and the Cavaliers, who they're currently 0-1 against. I believe they play them one more time, so I imagine they'll probably even up that season series. Other teams include the Wolves, who they're 1-1 against, but play them 2 more times, and that's going to be without Cat. So I imagine the Nuggets will probably grab those wins. They're 2-1 versus the Clippers. They're even 2-0 versus the Celtics, who seem like one of the only teams that can actually compete with them due to their amazing talent level. That's the finals I'm expecting, to be honest. Nuggets versus Celtics. I said that at the beginning of the season, and everything I've seen this year has only further reinforced that belief. And while Boss has had a historic squad, the Nuggets beat them twice, like swept them in the season series. The first game that they went up against them was really close. It was a 2-point win. Second game, not as close, with the Nuggets winning by 6. And we saw what their stars could do. Like Jokic in that first game went ahead and dropped 34, 12, and 9. Jamal Murray, 35, 8, and 5, while spending the night being guarded by Derek White and Drew Holiday, out of all people. And the second game, the Nuggets did a phenomenal job at really limiting Jason Tatum. Really, in both games they did. Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis went off, but they held everybody else in check. Jokic again had a 32, 12, and 11 triple-double. Jamal Murray wasn't even that crazy, but Aaron Gordon played well. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope gave them solid production. Peyton Watson. But Jokic was just the star of the show. He was the best player very clearly in both games. And if they end up in a series, he's also going to be that. So while the Celtics team is making history and breaking records, it'll probably be hard for a lot of people, me included, to pick against Denver because of how ridiculous they've been and just how many times they've shown me over the past year that you really can never bet against them. If we just stick to the Western Conference, it is loaded with great teams and high-level talent, but there aren't a lot of teams that I think can actually give the Nuggets real problems. I think some of the top teams like the Thunder, the Wolves, the Clippers can give them a tough series and theoretically could beat them. But in any series, I think I'm picking Denver. I just don't know if I believe they can be beaten at this point by any team in the West. And that's on a slight to the conference because, again, it's great. It's just that's how good I think the Nuggets are at this point. And a lot of people agree with me. I feel like the sentiment amongst NBA Twitter and just the overall landscape of the basketball world is that the Nuggets are probably going to come out of the Western Conference. There's a good chance they win a second finals. And this is still only the beginning for them. They're not slowing down anytime soon. They're playing the best basketball in franchise history at the moment. Jokic is still the best player in the world, might win a third MVP. I just don't know when the Nuggets are actually going to stop being this dominant. Maybe it doesn't come for a while. Maybe we're seeing a dynasty unfold right before our eyes, and this is the second step in that happening. Again, it's really funny to think about how last year people thought they were frauds. They were going to lose in the first round to like the Lakers or whoever they faced. And instead, here they are once again taking over. And I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say. They've just been so good. Like, they've been so good. I haven't known what to say in a video about them, and I've made hundreds of videos this year alone. But yeah, with all that being said, I think that's all I've got for the Nuggets at this point. They're really good. Is the gist of the video. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Comment down below. Do you think the Nuggets are going to walk through the Western Conference? Is there any team out there you think can give them some trouble? What about in the Eastern Conference? Like, say the Celtics make the finals. Can they take down Denver, or are they just inevitable at this point? And do you think this could be the start of a dynasty? Do we see the Nuggets rattle off 2, 3 championships in a row as Jokic continues to establish himself as one of the best to ever do it? I'd love to know your thoughts about this team. I appreciate y'all watching again. I will see y'all later. Real one, say it back.